So it was an emotional Spalletti making this announcement, basically, that he had been fired. Almost metaphorical that the European qualifier sign fell over in the middle of the process right there. But we're going to get to more of what he had to say here. Let's bring in Francesco Porzio, our insider when it comes to Italian football right now, to get more on this story. First of all, Francesco, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
It's certainly interesting circumstances to have you on right now. What's your immediate reaction to this news regarding Spalletti?
I think the fact that it was the same Spalletti announcing he was sacked without having a press release of the FA, of the president of the federation, which is of course Gabriele Gravina, it's quite surreal. I think I don't remember another manager announcing he was sacked, and then also he was going to be coaching the game against Moldova on Monday. So he will coach the game while he's already been sacked, basically. So I think that's really, really strange. And I think that's also the face of Italian football right now that we have. That's the immediate reaction I had. It was very surprising because we were all expecting him to leave his job. So we thought it was like a mutual decision after the big disappointment of the 2024 of the Euros and also the game against Norway. But he arrived and he said immediately that it was not his decision. It was a decision coming from the FA. So I think that's very, very strange to see how that evolved over the last hours, and also the fact that the president of the federation wasn't even there when he was announcing he was sacked.
It is interesting. And now obviously we know the story, Italy not making 2 straight World Cups, and now having issues as well, possibly not qualifying. The biggest stat that I saw that was just incredible to me is that the last World Cup knockout game that Italy played was the World Cup final in 2006. That is mind-blowing for a soccer mad nation as Italy. So do you think that this decision, it really is more of a panic move because they have to qualify for this 2026 48-team World Cup? Do you think that this move is a panic to make sure that they get to this World Cup in 26?
Yeah, of course, I don't like these stats as an Italian, and I'm laughing, but really it's not that fun.
Forgive me, Francesco.
No, I know. It's our job, so we need to stick to the facts, right? So I think that I agree with you. I think it's a sort of panic move also because it doesn't really make sense like doing that right now. Italy played their first game of the qualifiers on Friday. Of course, we know that it was an important game because Norway already played 2 games before, so it was already an important one. But still, like, it's kind of surreal that he's leaving after just 1 game, and also knowing that they had the time before. But if you remember also when Roberto Mancini left, he left in the summer, it was August, before also when Spalletti was appointed. So I think what's happening in Italian football over the last 2 decades, I think it's really, really disappointing. I think that the short term of Roberto Mancini when Italy won the Euros 2021 wasn't really the reality of the status of Italian football. Was a big achievement. It was an incredible summer tournament for Italy, but it was big. It wasn't like the face of Italian football. And now we are seeing the consequences of that. We are seeing a team that they have no direction. There are players that have been called. There was the case of Acerbi also last week that he decided to refuse the call up for the Italian national team. Other players were not involved, and so I think it's really a panic move. And also, if we are looking at the names, I think we're going to talk about that right now. The names of possible replacement of Luciano Spalletti, these are names that are not new for Italian soccer in general.
Let's just jump right into those names. Names like Ranieri and Pioli are being thrown out there. Do either of those excite you? What do you make of those names and any other names we should maybe put in the mix?
I think these are for sure the 2 top names we have right now. I wouldn't rule out any surprise because, well, it's Italy, it's Italian football at the end, so never say never. But I think right now these are the names we have to look at. And there are 2, I think, different names. I think because Stefano Pioli is more like a long-term name, someone that can build a cycle at the national team, while I would say Claudio Ranieri will be a 1-year move, like someone just for the World Cup, of course, if we qualify for the World Cup. And that will be, I think, again, coming out of retirement for the third time, I think, in the last 3 years. So it will be incredible, probably for him, a dream coming true, coaching the national team. But I don't know, like, if he's willing to take the job. I think he did an incredible job at Roma of the last year. He's now a senior advisor of the ownership of the Fredkin family at the club. They just decided to appoint Giampiero Gasperini as the new manager. So I think he was waiting, hoping to go to the retirement. But it will be fascinating, of course, seeing Claudio Ranieri. But also the Stefano Pioli move will be interesting because he had an incredible spell at AC Milan. They won the Scudetto in 2022. Then now he's like coaching Al Nasser. He's the manager of Cristiano Ronaldo, of course. But he's probably leaving the club. Fiorentina are also interested to appoint him for the next season. So let's see what kind of decision will be the final one. But I think it's important for Italy to make one, at least, decision, because the time is not on the side of the national team. There is no time to lose. I think Claudio Ranieri will be an incredible decision, but also think about what's next. Of course, we are hiring Claudio Ranieri for 1 year, but then what's next? What's after? What's happening after the World Cup 2026? I think Italy shouldn't think about the World Cup 2026. They should think about 2030, 2034, 2038, like in the next 10 years, what's next for the Italian football? I think that's the biggest question that it wasn't answered over the last 2 decades, and now we're seeing the consequences of that.
But shouldn't the focus be on making sure they qualify for 2026? Obviously, you want to make a move that can play long term, but shouldn't the foresight be like, now, okay, we need to qualify for 26, the first 48-team World Cup, being that would be a very, obviously, a terrible moment for the Italian Federation to not qualify for his third straight. Shouldn't that be the focus?
Of course, I absolutely agree with you, but I'm saying that that's not enough. I'm saying that we shouldn't just saying Italy have to qualify for the World Cup. Italy have to play the World Cup. Like, that shouldn't even be the question. I know that it was a question of the last 10 years, but it shouldn't be a question. So I think it would be great to appoint a manager like Claudio Ranieri, but then I think they should also question themselves what went wrong, why the Mancini spell was good, why they make it. They managed to win the European tournament, but then what didn't work out in the Italian football the last 20 years? I think that's the biggest question that they need to answer, they need to try to solve, and I think it's also quite unusual. And then going back to the first topic we were mentioning before, to see a manager announcing he was being sacked without the FA president speaking on behalf of the federation. I think that's giving an image of loneliness of the manager. He was there, of course. He wasn't a successful spell of Spalletti at the national team, but I don't think that all the responsibilities are on Spalletti's side. There should be someone else also taking some responsibilities of what went wrong, not of the last year, but also on the last 20 years.
A lot to unpack for sure, Francesco. Thank you so much for the time and the insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And as he talked about, Francesco, there, the interesting nature of a manager stepping forward at a press conference and announcing his own retirement, I thought it opened in an interesting way. It also, Stefano, closed in an interesting way because he was asked at the end, Spalletti, do you feel that you've been betrayed here? He started to answer the question, looked like he came to tears at that point, and then just basically got up and walked off the set. That might tell you something right there. There are problems for the Italian football right now that seem to run deeper even than the manager right now.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's not a good look for the Federation to make this move, not have the Federation president there with him, especially because he has to coach another game before his era is officially over. So it is a strange look for them. The media, without a doubt, is going to have its say in Italy. I also find it pretty interesting that they threw this out there right before an Italian tennis legend, Yannick Sinner, was about to play for his first French Open title. The timing was quite curious, as they know that the media wouldn't have been focusing too much on that this morning. They got a rude awakening because the media will be focused on this from here on out. It's not a good look for them, but they're in dire situation right now. I mean, for Italy not to make a 48-team World Cup, and it would be their third consecutive missed World Cup, that is, you're calling for panic in a federation that has known nothing but success for the longest time. So it is interesting to see the moment that they're in. This is a vital point for them to hire the correct manager to get this right.
panic after one game, I should point out as well, but it's that history that led up to that one game that maybe is causing the nerves as well.